Page 4, Sonatina. Actually, this is the second movement of one of Clementi's sonatinas. Clementi, I like his music. You get a book of Clementi sonatinas. When I was in high school, I used to play through the book just for the fun of it. There are a lot of very nice melodies in there too. So I go through the system that I use to learn a piece of music, and we'll see what we end up with. I look it over first. I like to have an idea of about how long it is. Doesn't need to be exact, just an idea. And I see it's about a page long. Now the repeat signs will make it longer than that, but as far as learning music, there's only about a page of music to deal with. The clef signs are treble and bass clef. I always check them because they're not always going to be that. The key signature right now is 1 sharp, which is in the key of G major for this piece. So make sure you can do the scales for G major and E minor. E minor also has 1 sharp. And when you get to this level of music, you should be doing these scales 2 octaves by now. I have it all in the videos. I explain everything there. The how to use these videos or some such thing. The preparatory video for scales, watch that first. And then do the beginner and intermediate level for the scales. Wouldn't hurt you to be doing the arpeggios too. They haven't introduced chords hardly at all, but it doesn't hurt to do the arpeggios. But if you haven't been doing arpeggios, just do them 1 octave first. And 4/4 time signature. We've got a lot of dotted rhythms here. We have to be careful about that because they need to be exact, or as exact as we can get them. Correct. We're going to take it 1 hand at a time because both hands are busy. The right hand starts here. Here. Don't forget the F sharp. It's in the key signature. But we're going to put the thumb on the G. So it's 1 and 2 and 1. I assume you know how dotted rhythms work by now. If not, you need to go back to book 1 and go through it carefully and make sure you understand the rhythms. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2. And now the 5th finger's on D, just come up a little bit. And 2, then 2, 3. During the rest, come up here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the dotted rhythm for the 8th note thingy. The second line, first measure. The first 2 beats is the same as what we've been doing. The G comes on beat 1. The dot comes on beat 2. So the 8th note comes on the end of 2. 1 and 2 and 3. Now the dotted 8th notes then come on beats 3 and 4. 3 and 4 and. The F sharps are just little notes. 3 E and 4 E and 3 E and 4 E and just quick notes. So again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3. Be careful not to turn those into triplets. Like in the second measure of the second line, don't go 1 and 2. How do I know those are triplets? Because it rocks. La dee da dee da dee da. When it starts feeling like that, they're triplets. It's got to be crisp. Those short notes got to be shorter than that. 1 and 2 and 3 E and During the rest, come back up for the 3rd line. 1 and 2, and you've had to have this rhythm before. You can follow the fingering in the book, it's fine. Let's go to the last line. You're up here. 1 and 2, similar to the 2nd line. But at the end, now it's 4th finger here. We got to prepare for the last measure. So the last 2 measures. 4. There we go. There are other fingerings, but this is fine. This is a fine fingering. You can use that. Left hand basically is chord notes. It's our beat. It's our metronome. See, if I take all the notes in the first measure, that's a chord. It's a G chord. So that's all we're doing here. The first couple measures is playing a G chord. And then in the third measure, you come down a little bit. So See, those notes all together is a chord. And back to, they have fourth finger, that's fine, I don't care. However, you can cross over for the second line, just cross over. Fingering in the book is fine. You can use that if you want. There's another fingering, or there are almost always other fingerings available. And at the end of the first line, they have a 4 here. Then you cross over for the next line. And that's fine. You can also do it where you don't cross over the thumb. And the fingering style that I use and teach, one of the principles of it is I won't cross over the thumb unless I have to. So in the last measure, in the first line, rather than a 4, I'm going to use a 5. And then I scrunch up and use 5 again. Now I'm in position. So by using fifth finger on both of those notes in the last measure, the G and the B, I just walked up the piano. Whatever. And then the half note second line is here. And then there. Now, in the third line, you just lift up and go. You got to rest. You come up. At the end of the second line, I didn't mention it, the bottom staff got treble clef. You see it there. They usually tell you the measure at the end of the measure before that you're getting it. So they're telling you at the end of the second line, you got treble clef coming. And in the third line, sure enough, we're up here. So treble clef. Then in the third line, second measure, you're here. And then you get bass clef again. You come back down here. And I do a 4-1. Because I like to connect them. You do 5-1 if you want. But I do a 4-1 and then a 5. The repeated note. And they want a 4 here. And that's kind of nice. Make sure you're using fifth finger on that last note there and the next to the last measure then. Because 5, 4, 5, and then you can come up. And the G is tied there at the end. You just play the B here. So hold the G down. Once I have an idea what his hand is doing, and I got a fingering figured out more or less, and I'm going to try to put the hands together, and I'll hesitate all over. I don't care. I just want to know which fingers are working together. So here I'm here. Here. And here. Make sure you rest with the right hand there, then you got to come up anyway. So I go through and I put the hands together very slowly and carefully. Then I go back through it a few hundred times or whatever, and I work out the hesitations. Keep it slow, but no hesitation. That steady beat in the left hand, those quarter notes, got to be steady like a metronome. Once I can do that, then I add the articulation. Now this is pretty connected. They have the phrasing marking in the upper. Lift up. These are phrases. You have to lift up for the rest. But in the second line, I would connect that whole line together. There. Can't connect there at the end because you have repeated G's, but you do the best you can. Yeah, those aren't phrase markings in the second line, they're slurs, and you don't always lift up before and after a slur. The third line is all one phrase, and the last line again, I would connect that whole line together. Now for the left hand, if you look underneath the staff at the beginning, it has the word legato. Legato means connect the notes. So they could have put in the slurs and all that, but rather they just use the word legato, that you connect the note, you lift up for the rest. So just make sure you connect all these. You see, if they didn't put in legato, they didn't put in anything, you can do it any way you wanted. You can play them staccato, or sort of staccato. But when they put in legato like that, now you don't have a choice, you connect them. So it's connected. if I'm lifting up the right hand, I'm still connecting the left. So the second measure, I'm lifting up here for the phrase, but I'm connecting that. At the end of the second line, you get staccatos in the left hand. I don't know why, but you do. Okay. Then for the dynamics, they give you two. You don't need two dynamics. I disagree with that. They need a dynamic between the staves in most cases. Now there's exceptions. Forget the exceptions right now. I'm just talking generally. You need a dynamic between the staves that tells you what the melody is going to do. The melody is what it's all about. The melody rules. We're here for the melody. We want to hear the melody. The melody is out front and everything else is there to support the melody. The MP, mezzo piano, or sort of soft, medium soft, that applies to the melody, which in this case happens to be the right hand. The melody can go back and forth between the hands. It doesn't matter. Wherever the melody is, that's it. The P in the bottom staff is not necessary. You don't need it. You're going to do that anyway because you want to stay out of the way. This is sort of soft. This has to be under it because if you play them the same, it gets in the way. Keep it out of the way. Keep it in the background. So I'm sort of light here, sort of. This is light. Very little weight, so you're sort of light and you're light. Well, again, when you're practicing the scales and maybe the arpeggios, do this with them. Play one hand louder than the other, and then take turns. Switch them. The other hand loud, and with the scales. That way, when you get these things in the pieces, and you'll get them a lot, you'll just do it. Now, in the second line, there's an arrow, a hairpin for getting louder. You're going to go up to moderately loud. There's not a lot of difference between moderately soft and moderately loud. So plan it out. I would not start changing anything until the third measure of the second line. So the first measure, I'm still moderately soft. I'm still moderately soft here. Now I'm going to go up a little bit, a little more. So I did it like 2 beats at a time with the left hand. A little louder now. There, except that, of course, the left hand was in the background. The right hand is moderately soft, a little louder now. So you plan it out so your crescendo lasts as long as it needs to. Otherwise, you'll be crescendoed within a beat or two. Then in the third line is the same as the first line as far as dynamics. And the last line is similar to the second line, except you get the hairpin to get louder in the second measure. So the first measure, stay where you are, here at moderately soft. I'm still moderately soft here. Now I'm going to start getting louder. And it's a little confusing the way it's written. The crescendo or the arrow only lasts for one measure. So supposedly, however loud you're getting, you're done at the end of the arrow. But they don't give you a dynamic until the end. I think that's an error, in my opinion. The MF, in my opinion, belongs in the next to the last measure, at the end of the arrow. You're going to go up to there, and you're going to stay there. So it's moderately soft. Now I'm basically there. And then come off at the end. Bottom, come out. You're at the end of a phrase. You come off at the end of a phrase. It's called shaping the phrase. You don't always come off at the end, but most of the time you will. Because even when you're talking at the end of a sentence, a lot of times you'll come down at the end of a sentence. You'll get softer. Maybe you even the voice gets lower or something. Doesn't matter. That you can tell you're ending the sentence at that time. Same thing in musical sentences. We come down. We get softer at that. Yeah. It's part of interpreting the music. So there's a couple ways you can do this at the bottom. You could be moderately loud by the third measure. Right there. There. Or I could continue the crescendo all the way to the end. Take my time. It's different ways of interpreting it. Since it's repeated, maybe you'll do it one way one time and another way another time, because we don't really want to play it twice exactly the same way. It's nice to be able to change something, and dynamics is one of those things. So maybe the first time I play it, I'm moderately loud by the next to the last measure at the bottom here. I'm moderately loud here. And then after I repeated it, then I'm moderately I'm not moderately loud yet. I'm going to crescendo all the way through this measure too. So I just did them differently. I feel them. How do you feel it? As far as the speed goes, un poco adagio. Oh, that's nice, huh? A little bit slow. Don't drag it. No, that's just boring. It needs to flow, but don't go too fast, because then the 16th note are too fast. So they're going to slow it down a little bit. What's a comfortable speed for those, and that can be your speed that you go. Now it is repeated. You see at the end of the second line, you go back and play the first two lines again. The last two lines are surrounded by repeat signs, so you play those twice. The thing is in sections. It doesn't seem to show it because the repeat sign covers it up. But the first two lines is a section, and the last two lines is a section. You can tell sort of, because it's slight different music. It's just the melody's a little different, feels a little different. Normally, without the repeat sign, you get two thin bar lines. That's the indication that you're leaving a section and going into another. Here, as I said, the repeat sign covers that up. I missed it before, I'll mention it now. There is a swell in the first line there. In the second, you get that matching hairpin. You're going to get louder and then come back down. Ba, ba. You come back down to there. Just go up a little bit, not very much. Please don't copy me. I play this different every time I play it because I play by feel. Remember the natural accents. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Exaggerate them if you have to. It's important. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Let's play this together very slowly. I hesitate doing play with me's when you get to this level of music. You should know if you're playing the right notes or not by now and the right rhythms or not. But I've been doing it all the way through the books for this series, so I'll go ahead and do it for this. I don't know if you need it or not. If you don't need it, good. That's fine. But if you need it, here it is. I'll give us 4 counts. I'm not going to do lows and softs, but I'll do pretty much everything else. 1, 2, ready, go. Repeat. rest. Repeat. Two, three, rest.